Welcome, Jordan. I'm so excited for our conversation today. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here with you.
Me too, because we talk clothes and the connection
We do, yes.
to confidence. But before we do that, I'd love to know a little bit more. Who is Jordan when she's not the businesswoman? Who is Jordan?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question because she's usually the businesswoman, but she is, I would say I'm very family oriented and very people oriented. So I think it's what has kind of drawn me into the line of work that I am in. So when I'm not in business mode, it's people mode. Just being around people, being around my friends, spending time around the people that I love. I get so much quality in my life out of that. So I would say people time.
Ah, awesome. I love that answer.
Yeah.
So what was then your journey from like growing up and then becoming a image strategy expert, how you call it?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Were you always interested in clothes and image, or did something special occur in your life that you decided?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a lot of people that work in fashion in some capacity, they do talk about always being interested in it. And I don't know that that was the case necessarily for me. So I grew up in Canada in a small city outside of Toronto. So there wasn't a heavy fashion prevalence in my life there. But what I've always been really cognizant of is the way people relate to themselves, I think, and the way I related to myself as a younger woman. So I always felt when I was younger, I dealt with a lot of insecurity, body stuff, image stuff. I think that as younger women, we had to deal with. And I was really perceptive of it to the people around me, whether it was my friends, my sister, my mother. I was aware of the role that it played in people's life. So I think rather than the wardrobe and the clothing component, I think it's that's always carried with me. And 10 years ago, I moved from Canada to here in Los Angeles. I worked in different capacities in fashion, so it took me a while to end up where I am now. I used to focus more primarily on like commercials and television shows, red carpet styling, nothing that had to do with regular everyday people. But then that piece that I drew from my childhood of being really tuned into the way people perceive themselves and what it feels like to feel insecure, I was able to bridge what I loved doing in fashion with that piece of helping people figure out how to use what's on the outside to feel really good about what's on the inside, or showing the world what's on the inside by using the outside part as a vehicle. So it feels like a long journey to get here, but now I'm in this place where I just get to work with people every day and help people feel good and find ways to make people's lives better. And that feels amazing.
Yeah. I love, and when we connected, I told you that already. I love what you say that we are aligning our inner and outer selves. And because for example, I have a podcast episode that is called Align Your Home with Your Priority, which I basically mean too is like you're aligning it with you and who you are. And you do the same with clothes. Now, before we dive deeper into there, I want to quickly ask something that came up for me. What is the difference, or how do you define the difference between what you're doing as an image strategy expert and a styling expert?
So the two kind of go hand in hand. And my career has piggybacked on both directions, but what you'll often find with somebody who's a stylist is that their main focus is on helping somebody be really stylish. So they're going to focus on what are the most important trends right now? What are we seeing? How do we get you into the best brands and align you with designer labels? And for me, when I focus on image, it has a lot less to do with that and a lot more to do with what is the external component that we put forward, our image that represents who we are on the inside. So the two definitely come together, but one, for me, it's more rooted in what's authentic to who I am on the inside, and how do I represent it on the outside? So I'll never feel like I'm pushing my clients into wearing something because it's in style right now, or taking them away from something even though they really love it because somebody said it's not popular right now. So maybe it's finding a way to elevate what they've been currently doing to get them to a place that they really feel like they're representing themselves on the outside through using clothing.
Yeah, so I love what you're saying here, because it's similar like when I'm being compared with a professional organizer who, where we look on Instagram, everything is about how it looks pretty and organized and perfect and labeled and all that. And that's not necessarily what I do. I help you with the home you have and with the things you have, create something that represents you and figure out why you have the clutter and why you have a hard time letting it go. So it goes much deeper. It sounds like you go with your work much deeper too than just a stylist.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what I have heard on your podcast before, it is very much aligned. I think what we both focus on is the mindset shift. So there is something you can do on the outside where you make your house look beautiful and there's not a mess and it looks like it belongs on social media. But you haven't worked on anything in the mindset piece. You haven't done that decluttering aspect. So you're just doing something on the surface level. Same like nice clothing. It's beautiful. I won't take anything away from that. It's beautiful on the outside, but it doesn't address anything that's going on the inside. So when we can get clear and unpack all these things, or declutter all these stories that we have in our mind, and we can get clear on, this is the image I want to present to the world, this is the way I want to show up in the world, and this is how I use clothing to do it, then I think it creates that foundational change, same as what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why I was also so excited for our conversation, because it's going from the service level so much deeper, and it's going away from that mainstream thinking of, oh yeah, just somebody said once, putting whipped cream on poop or something. It's like making something pretty on top of something that is a mess.
It's a mess, because you haven't addressed anything underneath. So maybe all the reasons that were driving you to feel insecure, or that you didn't feel like you were presenting yourself in the right way, you haven't really addressed them when you just put a pretty package on top.
Yeah, and I would assume too, then you don't really feel comfortable in the clothes. So let's just assume we're going to, we're going and buying some clothes, but we haven't addressed the inside of us. Then we're wearing that, but we never feel like comfortable. We always say, oh, that's not me, that's not me.
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah, so I call that imposter syndrome, which, there's imposter syndrome in business, and this is a little bit different in style, but imposter syndrome in style is when you're wearing clothes that aren't you. They belong on somebody else, or a sales associate told you to buy them, or you feel like you should because you saw all your friends on Instagram wearing them. But when you put them on, it's not authentic to who you are. So the way that you operate really shifts when you're wearing something that's not true to who you are. Counter that to when you wear something that's absolutely in alignment with your personality or whatever image you're trying to portray, then all of a sudden there's a light bulb moment, and it's like aha, this is who I am, and I can show the world exactly who I am.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's not just a one-way street, just like with decluttering. I always say, like, if you start changing something on the outside, something changes on the inside, and something on the inside influences again the outside. So that's exactly how it sounds for you too. Yeah,
absolutely. It's like a symbiotic relationship where the two go hand in hand. It's exactly the same as with what you're doing. And when you can find peace on one side, you find peace on the other. It's like a mirror image of each other.
Yeah. It's so amazing, so amazing. So if somebody comes to you and they want your help, how do you start? How do you start to figure out which way to go? You have a special process, a short and specific process.
A very special process. So it's almost like a little bit of a deep dive into their life, or they'll often say, I feel like I'm in therapy or something, because, we start with, I really like to get clear on what brought somebody to that place. What brought them at that point in their life to decide, this is something I cannot deal with anymore, or this doesn't feel right in my life anymore. Because when you can learn what brought someone there, you can hear where a lot of the tension points are for them. So getting clear on that, and then getting clear on who do you want to show up in the world as? So who do you want to show up in the world as for your children, for your coworkers, for your clients, for your boss, for your partner? And that's going to look different to different people. So it'll look different between men and women, and it will look different amongst women. But once we can get clear on exactly who do I want to show up as, then we're able to start building a wardrobe around something that looks like that person. So if a woman will say to me, I want to show up at work as somebody who's professional, but also friendly, engaging, also very intelligent, now I can start to think of what does that woman look like? How do we build a wardrobe around a woman that looks that way? From there, we use tons of visuals. So we have lots of references that we work through, and we can start to identify that looks like a professional woman to me. That looks like an approachable woman to me. That, whatever the words might be, because what you might think of as approachable and what I think of as approachable could look completely different. So getting the visual cues in place is really strong. It also helps the client really identify, these are what my preferences are and this is what I don't like, because a lot of people don't actually know what they like and what they don't like until they see it. Once we see it, we're able to start looking at what they have. So what do we have that aligns with the vision that we have in mind, and what is it time to let go of? And that piece is where you would definitely come into the equation, because it is, what am I holding on to only because I have an attachment to it still, but not because it aligns with the goals or the vision that I have for my life. And that piece is so challenging for people. I'm sure you see that all the time. But
yeah, that together with, oh, I could regret it later, is the most named reasons why, especially with clothes too, why you're not giving it away. Kind of like, I always say, like, it's not, you're not going with who you are now. You're still kind of stuck in the past, possibly in your younger self, thinner self for women often, you know.
Always.
And, and so your clothes, I'm not going like with style like you do, but what I'm going with is like, is this representing you how you are today, or is it not representing your 20-year-old single woman image that you had back then, and now you're married and you have a child, so you're not the same person.
Exactly. And that's why we like to start with the process of creating the visual and getting somebody to be able to articulate into words, what does that vision look like? Because then we can start to hold the clothing against that goalpost and say, does it align? Or exactly as you said, am I holding on to this as my previous self, but not the self that I want going forward? And that's hard for people. That's so challenging. I think I would love to hear what you think, but I feel like clothing is the piece that people have the most difficult time letting go of, because they hold so much attachment to it for so many different reasons, but awfully often from the past.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's the most challenging one, but it's sure one of the very, very challenging one. Because the self-image, and often with women especially, the self-worth is so connected to it. Because we think like, if we're not skinny and beautiful and young as we were, then we're not the same worth. And we're trying to cling on this, which doesn't work, you know?
It doesn't work, no. It doesn't work. So being able to get somebody to a place that they can let go of those things, because they know that they're moving into a forward direction, because they know that they're only going to hold on to pieces that align with that vision that they have for themselves, that will often do it. That will often be the tool that will get them there. And then from that point, we start to add in new pieces if they need it. So if their wardrobe is sparse, then we start to add in, okay, what do we have already, and how do we build off of what we already have to create that image or that look that we're going for?
Now, a question that I'm curious about is, do you see, because I know you help men and women, so do you see a difference, like in the connection between self-perception between men and women and self-worth and stuff, or are they similar?
They're actually more similar than you would anticipate, I think. And even the body image stuff, because I think men, they hold on to the same kind of thoughts as women, which is, oh, when I was in my 20s, my waist was a size 28 and I still hold on to these jeans for whatever reason. I do see it more with women, but men have equally as much of an attachment to their clothing. And sometimes the most obscure pieces that you would never think that they were holding an attachment to. You know, for women, it's often this dress that I wore when I was in my 20s. For men, it's like a miscellaneous t-shirt, or, you know, something that you wouldn't necessarily imagine that they would attach the value to, but they still do. I think the body image and the self-perception plays a part across the board.
Yeah, because I get that asked a lot when I work with men or women, whether men and women are different. And I don't think we're that different, like you just confirmed.
Yeah.
We're in a lot of things not that different. I think it's more society that tries to tell us too that we're different, no?
Exactly.
And in the end, we're all human beings with feelings and attachments.
Yeah.
And I want to say too here, just for the record, there's nothing wrong with attachments. We're human.
No, we're human.
That's what happens now. And it doesn't hurt either if you have a few pieces in your wardrobe that you're emotionally attached to that you're not wearing anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But it depends whether it's holding you back or whether it's keeping you from actually being the you that you are now, and keeping you from accepting the you that you are now. I think that's where the importance comes in.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a fine balance. And I wouldn't say you need to throw everything away and start a new you. It's not that. And there isn't anything wrong with attachment, as you said, but it's when it's taking over. So it's when you don't even have a vision in mind anymore for yourself, because all of the stuff from your past is taking over your present.
Yeah,
when you can't see that, and when you can't find that clarity, then it's not serving you to have all of that in your life.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the same like with regular clutter too. It's like we don't all have to become minimalists, and it's not about how you should how your home should look, or how your office should be organized. Just because you see it on Instagram or somewhere doesn't mean that you have to do that. It has to work for you. So again, similarity. I love it. Yeah. So your clientele, are they mainly coming to you because of they want to change or they want to align their business self with the like inside and out, or is it like private as well?
It's a bit of both. A lot is business. A lot is people that are looking to excel in their career and have come to realize that their image plays an instrumental role in that. But a lot of it is not too. We have a lot of women come that aren't in the business sector at all. A lot of women will come maybe after they've had a few children and they feel a disconnect with their body, a disconnect with their external self. Because I always think that body image is about much more than just our actual body. Body image is around our mental view of ourselves. So when women, oftentimes after a few children, they will have this disconnect with their body and they will feel almost like a stranger, and they're trying to come to a place where they can identify with themselves again. So for those types of clients, it doesn't really have anything to do with corporate, and the process works the exact same way, you know? I think most of our male clients do come from a professional space, or actually they come from just having been divorced space. So maybe they're, you know, it's often transitioning. So transitioning into a new life space and trying to find my identity after this large transition.
Yeah, I always say that, so we have our body and the boundary basically to the world is the skin, and then the second boundary are the clothes, you know, and then kind of the third one is the home. And so the clothes are actually really playing a huge role, because that's the closest to our skin,
to
which we
body.
never get rid of, basically. It's the closest. Yeah, and so I could see that when you go through a transition, men or women, that this whole, you struggle with your identity, and this is the closest that is
it is
on you, like. And it's easier to change too than just changing your body shape. Like a lot of people I know, they hang on to clothes because they want to lose weight, which is a longer process. But if you can change your clothing to feel good and more in alignment, it's faster process. Like for people who are in a hurry than waiting until you lost your weight, which may never happen because it's just not in store for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So, of course, by keeping privacy of people, but could you give us maybe an example of someone, what she or he came struggling with, and then how you could help with clothes? Like, is it possible to give an example?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I'd love to give examples. So I have a female client who just started this week, and she is in the process of going through a divorce, actually, and a really quite traumatic one. So one where it was unexpected and there's children involved. And she was not anticipating it coming. But when it came, I think it opened her eyes to some things that weren't working in her life. And she's shifted her thinking into a place of looking towards the future. And she really got clear on, I can only take care of my children and my business and the people around me if I take care of myself first. And I haven't been doing that because I felt like I was selfish if I took care of myself before I took care of the other people. But then, she had been doing some self-development work, and she got to this place where she realized, I really need to do what makes me feel good, which I've almost forgotten what that is after all of this time. And going through this difficult chapter in her life brought that out in her. And she started to be able to realize, I need to do this for me. I need to take care of me. So we've been starting the initial process of getting that look together that I talked about with you, getting clear on what is the look that she wants to create? What is the direction she wants to go in? How does she see herself now as a single woman after years of being married, a mother, but still a desirable woman? Because I think there's a piece for a lot of females that we feel like at a certain point in our life, maybe we've told ourselves we're not allowed to be desirable or beautiful or whatever that might be that we often experience as women. So helping her shift that mindset and feel like, oh, wait, I am still allowed to be all of those things, and a single woman and a mother and a business owner. So for her, we're helping her get clear on the message, get clear on what it looks like, and then building a wardrobe around it that helps her feel that way.
Yeah, and so beautiful and so important for her, like we said, self-worth, self-image for her moving forward.
Yeah.
And
I have, it reminds me of another man who I worked with, I think it was about 6 months ago, before COVID. And he has some disabilities. And he always took care of his mother, and she passed away recently, and she lived with him. She helped take care of him, and he helped take care of her, and she passed away. And he was, for the first time in his adult life, on his own. And he wanted to go into the world of dating, but he was so self-conscious because he had some disabilities. So that made him uncertain of he felt like he could approach women. But he had also only been with his mother for so long that he felt even just nervous interacting with other people in the world. So he came from a place of wanting to build this kind of confidence to be able just to go and talk with people. He said, I just want to be able to go out to a nightclub. This was before COVID. I want to be able to go out to like a nice place at night and have a drink and talk to other people, but I don't feel like I can do that right now. Mm-hmm. And so for him, it was so much more than just, put these nice clothes on and you'll fit in at that place. It wasn't about that. It was about, how can I do the internal work so I can show the world on the outside, this is this amazing personality I have, but I'm too nervous to show it. How do I work with somebody to build it, to get clear on what I want it to say, and then to put clothes on that help me feel really empowered. And then I can go out, and as the first time in my adult life, I can maybe meet women, even if it's not even in a dating capacity, just talk to women, talk to men, have friends outside of this life that I thought that I was limited in this little bubble before. So to see that transition for him it's life-changing for me, like just to witness that somebody else can have a different quality for their life or a different experience for their life, that they don't have to feel so limited.
Yeah, and I find that so beautiful because it's so much more than clothes, but the clothes are assisting.
Yeah,
because
there's a
you're
vehicle.
actually going deeper. So then the clothes assist. You're not just giving him, oh, this is the suit that you look really smart in, but he feels completely out of place and insecure, which makes them matters worse. No,
makes it worse. Yeah. And we bring the clothes to our clients in their home for them to try on, so that the experience is really comfortable and they're not in a store or anything like that. And we'll have racks of clothes for them. And for this man, for example, but it happens with every client, there'll be lots of things that they'll try on that they'll feel, no, it's not me. I wanted this to be me, but it's not. But then you notice the light bulb in someone when they put something on that is them. Because it's like, oh yeah, this is me. I never would have thought I could wear this before. I never tried something like this, but I feel like $1 million in this. And that's when you know, oh, it's working. We're finding your authentic self inside of you that you didn't even know was there. But never about, if it was just about finding the nice suit or something, you could just go to the store and find that with the sales associate. You know, it's a different process than that.
Yeah, it's exactly like I said. Yeah, if it's just about having a gorgeous image that you can put up on Instagram, you can just go to anybody. But if you actually want to figure out how you yourself can feel comfortable in your home and feel you can show up as your best without effort, like it just works the way you want, then it's probably not these pretty pictures from the magazines or from Instagram. It's something completely different. That's why I love your work so much. That's why I was so excited to meet you. And I could talk with you for hours, but we should probably be a little bit mindful. So where could people find you if they feel like, oh, I need what Jordan offers?
Yeah, that's great. Well, the good news is for people that don't live in the cities that we service, we also do virtual consulting. So the process of doing the shopping in home is removed from that. But we do a lot of virtual consulting and helping people just get really clear on their message and then finding clothes for them online. So our website is Mikado Personal Styling, and they can find us there. We do free consultations, so they can book that on the website. Or on Instagram, same handle, Mikado Personal Styling. And yeah, they're even just welcome. Please say hi. Just talk about, what do you feel like your challenges are? I love talking to people. I love hearing where people are struggling, or even where people feel like they've had a really productive day and that, yeah, today I put something on and I felt amazing in it, and this is what I accomplished doing it. Send a message that says that. I would love to hear something like that.
That's beautiful. I will put all the links in the show notes for
Wonderful.
sure. Yeah. Now I want to ask you, did I not ask a question, or do you have any last words or wisdom that you feel like we need to share before we end?
What I would love to share to people is, if you feel like you're in this kind of bubble, or you're in this place where you feel like you're stuck and it's dark and you feel like, I just can't get out, I don't know how to be who I am, know that it's possible for anyone. You just need to start trying. Whether it's similar to your work, Conny, or the same in what I do, you never have to feel stuck. So if you want something better, if you want to create more opportunity, or you want to feel like a better version of who you are right now, find something that works for you. So if it's your clothing, go try on clothes in the mall that make you feel good, even if you can't buy them. Or look at stuff online that speaks to you and try to recreate it with something you own if you're not in a place that you can shop right now. But I feel it hurts my heart when I know that people feel stuck the way they are and that they can't accomplish more. because everyone can. So even if it's just little steps that you do today, find a way that it brings you some kind of joy.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Same here. Don't need to go out and buy fancy organizing stuff. We can create something with what you have, and everybody
you just have to try. I think you just have to start. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful message. It was so awesome to have you on the show.
So good to be here, Connie.
I can already see maybe we will have to repeat that in the future and talk a little bit more because I love it that it's going deep and not just stays shallow. So I really love that, Jordan. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Connie.